Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mengs, and today I'm going to talk about Warside. I didn't expect it to launch this early, but it comes out this Monday, and I intend to do a launch stream where I will try to play through the entire campaign in one sitting, so definitely come join me for that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. However, in this video, I'm going to talk about my first impressions of Warside as a game. The developers gave me early access, but I wasn't able to make a video about it until now because of a content embargo set by their company. But that embargo is up, so it's time for me to let my opinions be known. So I got to play through the entire Warside campaign minus the final few missions, and it took me around 5 to 6 hours. So lengthwise, it is pretty comparable to the original campaign of the first Advance Wars game, maybe a little bit longer. There are 4 difficulties: casual, standard, hard, and brutal. I played hard on my first playthrough and I didn't find it very challenging at all, so if you are an experienced Advance Wars veteran, this is probably a good starting difficulty for your first playthrough. Now, here's the thing. In this video, I'm not gonna go super in-depth about every single gameplay mechanic because, as I was about halfway through my playthrough, the developers informed me that I had been accidentally given an old build of their game, so the version I was playing was not the most up-to-date one, thus a few mechanics were missing. I didn't get access to a newer build, so I just kept playing on my old one, and as a result the game felt a little unfinished to me, and that's why I don't think it's fair for me to start picking it apart, as many of my complaints might have already been addressed in the final release. So instead of nitpicking in this video, I'm just gonna give my overall impressions of the game and talk about a few things I liked and a few things I did not like. To start off with, I will say the same thing as I said after playing the initial demo. I am cautiously optimistic about Warside as a game. I think out of all the Wars-like games to come out in the last few years, this is by far the best one. It reminds me a lot of Wargroove and how it plays and feels. I will say that I am a little bit worried about online multiplayer, as with the state of the game right now, it has some major problems, and I don't think this will be fixed at launch. Mainly, games tend to drag on a lot and become very stally, and I think people will not be super thrilled to play this online against other humans right away. However, the same could be said about the original Advance Wars games as well. Multiplayer-wise, they were in a pretty terrible state when they launched. Maps were awful, most of them were too narrow and choke pointy, and it wasn't until many years later, when Advance Wars by Web came around and people designed proper maps and balanced the game around tier lists, that competitive Advance Wars really became what it is today. The same thing could be done for Warside. Good map design could make up for its flaws, and I'm hoping that this is going to be the case, because I would love to play this game competitively and even host tournaments down the line. We'll just have to see how well it holds up. Anyway, back to the actual campaign. I played through the whole thing and I must say, it was quite enjoyable. The missions were fun and all the units felt great to use. This definitely feels like Advanced Wars Plus with a healthy dose of Wargroove on the side. Gameplay-wise, you're gonna recognize most of the units here. You have all the classics: infantry, tanks, artillery, rockets, etc. But you also have completely brand new units. The infantry game of Warside has been greatly expanded. You now have medics and snipers. Medics can heal infantry units for no cost, while snipers are like infantry indirect units that are devastating against other infantry. Then you have unique units like the Rhino, which can push other units around on the battlefield and destroy them by dumping them into rivers. While probably a nightmare to balance competitively, these units are a lot of fun to use in the campaign. In fact, every faction in this game has unique units, which really adds a lot of personality and flair. The Desert Nation, for example, can build bikes from Days of Ruin, which has a really cool ability akin to the pass skill from Fire Emblem, where they can actually swoop true enemies to get behind their lines. This makes bikes great at raiding indirects and other squishy units in the back line. Meanwhile, the Wastelander faction have 2 unique units, an infantry that self-heals, as well as a truck that blows itself up to deal damage. Both of these units are a lot of fun thematically, and I really look forward to using them online. Another thing I absolutely adore about this game are the CO powers. Every single one of them are targeted. There's no passive firepower or defense buffs here. Every power that you use have to be aimed. Some of them select up to 3 units to deal damage, others call down an EMP shockwave that stuns enemy vehicles and bases, some of them can form shields around your units to improve their defense, while others will repair vehicles in a giant zone. Having every CO power be manually targeted makes them a lot more fun to use, as instead of just clicking a button to get a power up, you have to really weigh your choices where you have to target it, and this is all great in my book. Another amazing aspect of Warside is its naval combat. It is majorly overhauled from Advance Wars and so much more fun. You now have properties in the water to capture, similar to Wargroove, and you can only capture those properties with special boats called ribs. These naval properties gives twice as much income as regular ones, which is great since naval units are still somewhat expensive in Warside. But this means that fighting over the water is doubly important, as these properties are too valuable to ignore. Not only that, but your ribs can also target properties that are adjacent to the sea, so they can be used to apply pressure on land as well. Another amazing thing about Warside is how it handles transports. They're better now than they ever were in Advanced Wars. Not only can each transport carry multiple units, but most of them can carry multiple vehicles. And if you didn't load the units in the same turn, you can drop the units off and have them move, capture, and even attack when they come out. The amount of strategic options this opens up is beyond insane, and I estimate that transports will be a mainstay in the game, even in competitive PvP. Now, let's talk about a few things I wasn't a big fan of. Firstly, the music. The developers have informed me that some of it might be licensed, so this could result in a copyright strike for streamers unless they mute the music and play their own. This is a massive issue, and one they really need to get sorted. This is actually out of their hands, as apparently it's related to the company at large, but if anyone from Lovabird is watching, please try to fix this ASAP, because copyright striking your streamers is a great way to ensure no one will want to feature your game. Personally, I have used Warside's official OST in my videos so far, including this one, and I have yet to be striked, so I hope this is not something that's gonna happen once the game comes out. I also have to say, while I absolutely love the graphics of this game, I'm not a big fan of how the COs look. Warside does this uncanny thing where it shows realistic humans depicted in a cartoon art style, which just doesn't look great. Jackson, the first CO you are introduced to, looks really bad. There's no other ways to say it. I'm afraid this art style will turn away a lot of players, as the COs of Advanced Wars are all just so iconic and amazing looking and full of life, and by contrast, the Warside COs look hollow and devoid of any emotion. It is probably my biggest criticisms about the game so far. Another gripe I have with this game is the writing. There's no way around it. It is comically bad. It is so bad that even the game itself makes fun of itself. And while this can be charming, I think the humor fails to land. Just a few missions in, and I had absolutely no interest in the story, and I find myself skipping through the dialogue to get to the maps. To be fair, the dialogue in this game is very short, and it almost felt placeholder in a way, so it might be improved greatly at launch. But so far, I think this is probably Warside's biggest shortcoming. That being said, the original Advance Wars games were also not known for their great writing, so this may not be that big of an issue to most people. However, by far my biggest issue with Warside in its current state is the infantry spamming. I love how they've separated infantry units and vehicles into two separate production facilities, but a huge issue I have with this new system is that you can deploy 3 infantry units from a barracks per turn. Infantry units do cost 1500 now, akin to Days of Ruin, but as we know, infantry spamming is just too good. It's literally the metagame of competitive Advanced Wars. Warside letting you get 3 infantry per base is going to lead to ludicrous amount of unit spam. Yes, snipers are good anti-infantry units, but they are expensive and they can only kill 1 per turn. I do worry that unless maps are limited to 1 or 2 barracks per player at most, PvP games are just going to devolve into infantry swarms on both sides with no end in sight, and that is something that could kill this game's competitive scene. Now, there is one silver lining with this new system. When a production building loses HP due to being attacked, its production capacity goes down. This means that you can send your units behind enemy lines to attack the enemy's production facilities, which will limit how many units they can build. However, this is going to be tricky to do, and against most human opponents, they're going to guard against it. So I'm not sure how viable this is going to be in actual PvP. Anyway, I know the later half of this video sounds very negative, but I want to be clear, I am very excited for the launch of Warside. I think that the developers have something really good here, and if they play it smart, they could have an amazing game on their hands. I think the Advance Wars community is hungry for a good game after the failure of both Wargroove and the Reboot Camp, and if the proper steps are taken and the devs listen to feedback from their community, I think Warside could eventually transform into a very good game. But I do think that at launch, a lot of people are gonna have some issues with the gameplay as it is right now. That being said, I am very grateful to the devs for letting me play this game early, and I hope I didn't come across as too harsh. But I do need to be honest with my audience who might want to buy this game on Monday, depending on my opinion of it. If you are on the fence about this game, then I recommend you tune in to my live stream tomorrow, where I will attempt to beat the entire campaign in one sitting. That should be a pretty good test of whether the game is worth your time and money, so make sure you tune in for that. It's already scheduled and should be appearing in front of you right now. Hope to see you guys there.